Introduction. Communication used to be the underestimated component of the workplace environment. However, the effectiveness of communication can either improve the standards and atmosphere in the workplace or result in the undesired consequences. The organizational communication includes many aspects and levels. It is important to understand that both the way the employees communicate between themselves and the communication between the employees and the management are parts of a bigger picture of the organizational ethics and culture. Therefore, in order to explain the importance of the effective communication in the workplace and human relations, one needs to explore the advantages that effective communication provides, barriers that might hinder the communication, and the importance of the human relations skills in the workplace. Importance of effective communication in the work environment. The work of any company or organization is the most efficient when all its parts and branches function harmoniously. It can only be achieved if each employee is able to communicate their needs and receive feedback from management, support, or other workers. The agreement between the management and the employees cannot be reached if not anyone has means to express an opinion or suggestion. If the changes or rules that the management introduces cannot be discussed, and the employees cannot express the dissatisfaction, it may result in people leaving jobs and employee turnover. On the other hand, the effective communication, in this case, would help to explain the importance of the change to the workforce. If the management conveys the idea, which they want to introduce, in the workplace with effective communication, the employees will support it and make suggestions for improvement. It is based on the fact that the strong organizational culture evolves from the efficient communication in the workplace. And with the strong culture, the employees and the management of all the levels of the company share their work objectives and beliefs. In other words, if the ideas are communicated effectively, the employees will be more motivated. The responsive employers and managers are more likely to convey the purpose and the objective of the company. If they do it effectively, the staff would be more efficient because they will know the final purpose of the work. Thus, the effective communication allows each employee of the organization see the full picture of their work, which would make their part of the common task feel more significant. It would make the employees more responsible and motivated. Another important aspect of the effective communication in the workplace is that it helps to increase the productivity of the work. The first step here is that the management should formulate the task in a comprehensible manner and try to make them clear and structured. When an employee is not confused with the task and precisely knows what they need to do, the work will be done quicker, with the lesser possibility of error, and generally more productively. However, the effectiveness of the communication relies not only on the management but also on the workforce. In the situation, when the task was not understood by the employee, the most effective solution would be for the workers to be able to ask the questions about the details of the assignment. The effective communication will thrive from asking the right questions that help to clarify the work process. The similar issue concerns the customer service. Without the effective communication, asking right questions, and trying to understand the perspective of the interlocutor, the customer service is likely to be poor. Human relations in overcoming communication barriers. There are a number of aspects that are overlooked in the workplace communication, and that can be improved with the human relations approach. The most obvious barrier to the communication between the customers, staff, and management is bad listening. The key to the effective communication is not solely understanding what the interlocutor is saying but also trying to imagine the whole perspective of the other person and to understand their motives and the purposes of the dialogue. Another important factor is the inability to structure and present the information. In the situation where the manager is overloading the employee with the information, and the employee does not know how to ask the right question, the productive work is almost impossible. For the information to be perceived, it needs to be well structured and organized. In order to deal with those barriers, as well as stressful situations, cultural and language obstacles, one needs the human relations skills. Human relations and communication are the aspect that should not be overlooked. The interpersonal skills can be helpful to solve the problem where other means cannot. It includes resolving different types of conflicts, managing people in stressful situations, coping with the emotional distractions in the workplace, and sustaining integrated work environment. Conclusion. The importance of the effective communication lies in the improving motivation and organizational culture among the employees, creating the productive environment, and refining the customer service. The human relations approach would help to resolve the conflict situations, to cope with the stress in the workplace, and to support the harmonious work environment. StudyCorgi.com has everything you need for successful studies. Writing tools, informative articles, and essay samples. Come check it out!